Nothing in this recording is intended as investment advice, and the people in this recording may hold positions in the companies they talk about. Do not make any investment based solely on a tip or recommendation. Please do your own research.
Hello and welcome to Zak's Traders Cafe. Today I'm joined by Thomas Abraham James, who's President and CEO of Pulsar Helium. How are you today, Thomas?
Nice to speak to you again, Zach. Doing very well, thank you.
Well, I have missed you. It has been quite a long time, and in that time you've actually moved things along quite a long way. But let's just go for the latest news first, which is proposed acquisition of a major Minnesota land position. I thought you were already landed up in Minnesota.
A great opportunity presented itself, Zach. So look, we're certainly very happy with our land position around Topaz. As we announced recently, we're expanding with our drilling with the funds that we recently raised. So we'll be working hard on that area. But this opportunity is just to the west. So it starts at about 30-ish kilometers to the west of us. And really, in our time that we've spent in Minnesota, we have been able to identify areas that are highly prospective for helium accumulations. And this area falls into that bracket very much so. And so with the opportunity to acquire it for all stock, it was just a wonderful opportunity. And it makes sense. It blends very well with our existing portfolio.
Right, so all stock is great. We love all that rather than money. So obviously somebody believes in you as well, who took the stock. The other point, I suppose, is that a little while ago, just the end of last month, you reported Jetstream 1 was flowing over 1.3 million cubic feet. Just run us through that.
Yeah, look, what a great result. So that was. After a bit of time, we got that result after we did the well cleanup, and then we were able to go and do a natural flow and then a flow under compression. And so what we found that so just the history with that Jetstream 1 well, we drilled it in 2024. With that one, we got a flow rate of about 800,000 cubic feet. And what we've done since then is that we've deepened the well to go through the entirety of the helium-bearing zone, as we'd interpreted from our work, geophysics primarily. And then with that deepening, we then did the flow. We found that the natural flow rate, so therefore unassisted, was more than 3 times higher than the flow rate in 2024. And then under compression, we got the 1.3 million cubic feet per day, which is great. I mean, for me, I was really hoping to see an increase on what we got in 2024. But to get up to that 1.3 million level at the high helium concentrations we've got, I mean, it's such a stellar result. I'm really, really happy with it.
Right, so you've done what you said you would do, which is find a big amount of helium, which I think that's been the story over the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. So there might be 1 or 2 people who are asking when can we actually, when will we see that helium, when we can pump it into a balloon or wherever we want to pump it?
Yeah, certainly. Well, look, with that, we've now drilled a couple of wells in Minnesota. We have to keep in mind that unlike other helium projects or stories out there, a lot of them gone into historic areas where there has been a history of gas production, and so therefore a lot of wells drilled. It's not the case for Topaz. The work that Pulsar's conducted is it. So whilst we're off to a tremendous start, what we now need to do is find out the size of the reservoir. So whilst we can't go off and get everything, because it is quite a large area that we're looking at for helium, certainly with the financing we just conducted, and we've stated publicly that we're now about to start drilling up to an additional 10 wells, that will then give us the next piece of critical information. So we know that there's flow, we know that there's high helium concentration. Now the question is, how big is this? What's the volume of it? And get it up to a size of a volume that could then justify building a brand new plant. And what we're looking at when it comes to production, we're not looking at just something small or a second-hand plant or just to get it some form of revenues. What we want to do here is effectively a proper job. And that is to have something with Chart Industries, who's reviewing all of the data, the technical team there, to say, okay, for helium and CO2 production, what is the best fit for technology to then be able to design that, to fabricate it and commission it and bring that online and do meaningful helium production. And so with that one, really, the work that we're doing, the drilling that we're about to embark upon, the anticipation is that sometime in the first half of next year, we'll then have all of the data that we need to then be able to say, okay, can we then go into production? And then the time frame to build and commission the plant is between 12 and 18 months. So that is the time frame that we're working on to get to those initial revenues.
I think the other thing which caught my eye, obviously in the gap between us last talking, was the announcement last month of the receipt of a non-binding $12.5 million project financing from quite an esteemed counterparty. Is that something which sort of just shows you're now sort of rubbing shoulders with the big boys and girls? You're a serious project and on that kind of thing?
Look, I like to think so. We've got, and the great thing is, it's from a bank in the United States, out of Michigan. They're also an existing shareholder of ours. They've got just under 5% of our stock and been very supportive with each recent financing round as well. So look, they see the potential of what we've got. Look, really to be able to say, okay, we get to that point where we can justify going into production. One, of course, the major next obstacles is then to say, okay, we don't want to do equity financing, we want to do debt finance, and to have this group there to support that is a real great sign of faith at this stage. And so it's non-binding for the sole reason that we have to get to the point where we say, okay, this is now commercially viable, which is one of the major milestones to then go from non-binding to binding. And
finally, we haven't spoken since I suppose since Trump turned up and started going crazy about tariffs and all these other things associated with that. How's that affected the helium market? Lots of commodities, I think, have sort of gone headed north in terms of their pricing, uncertainty, etc., etc. Has the tariff debacle tightened the helium market? What's the state at the moment in that area?
Well, we're fortunate that our project is in the United States, so the main project there. However, on a bigger scale, I think helium's got bigger problems than tariffs, to be honest. Is that at the moment, and it has been historically, helium is a byproduct of natural gas production. So what we're seeing now is we hear all the time about AI, semiconductors, data centers, and so on. They need helium in the fabrication process. We're seeing the increased demand, but as helium is a byproduct of natural gas, the end user can't get that flexibility in supply. And so with our projects, they are primary helium, and so therefore not a byproduct, and therefore could provide that flexibility to the end user. So I think that element to it goes above and beyond effectively a monetary value, because it's only a small fraction of their overall costs for fabricating all this equipment, but an incredibly valuable one. So yeah, I would say that the bigger helium conundrum is larger than tariffs.
Thomas Abraham James, President and CEO Pulsar, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Zach. Nice to be with you again.